Bringing you the top stories from Bonners Ferry to St. Mary's and everywhere in between, this is the North Idaho Prepcast with Ryan Scaggs.
That's right. Welcome in. Another edition of the North Idaho Prepcast at IdahoSports.com, your weekly breakdown of everything going on in Districts 1 and 2 in the state of Idaho. Brandon Baney, joined as always by Ryan Scaggs. You can get the audio version of this podcast at IdahoSports.com or wherever you download your podcasts. Video version of this on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel or Facebook page. And if you're watching the video today, you're going to see a bespectacled, well, you did for 2 seconds there. Now Ryan's got an image to maintain. He's no Four Eyes.
It was getting like a gnarly glare coming off my glasses through the window. So
you gonna be able to see okay?
No, we're good. We're up close. I have no distance eyesight. It's garbage, but I can see well up close, so we're all right.
Okay. So Ryan was wearing glasses and took them off, and yeah, that's about the only visual cue I can give now, because otherwise you're just in a t-shirt and hat like you always are. So
yeah, no clean cut fade yet today, so we're all right.
Yeah, I'm due for a haircut as well. My barber is my wife, so getting in is hard sometimes.
But free sometimes.
Right, yes.
Nothing's ever free in life, is it?
No, there's definitely stipulations that come with that, but yeah. Anyways, let's talk about man, I can't believe it, Ryan. We're at the finish line in terms of girls basketball for the regular season. Up north, there's about a week left of regular season competition, and it really caught me by surprise. I mean, I should have seen this coming by now, but did it throw you off that we're kind of like we're at the end game of girls basketball?
Yeah, especially, well, I mean, and it's been kind of weird because you've had a few COVID cancellations and then reschedules. And so, like, I think the last 2 weeks, it's just been an out and out smash with some of these teams just filling in their slots and getting everything kind of shored up before district basketball, trying to get everything in. And, we've learned a lot, I think, in the last couple of weeks, but there's still, I think, a lot left out there to be seen as far as what shakes out come district time, because we may see a rematch between Timberlake and Kellogg again in the districts in the 3A, and then you're going to see Lake City playing Post Falls on Friday again on the girls' side, which, turned out to be an awesome game the other night. So, we got some good basketball. You're getting bonus ball. I think the next couple of weeks you're going to be in store for some good games.
Bonus ball. I like that. That's going to be a good title for the podcast. I'm writing that down real quick. Bonus ball. So I always come up with the title for the podcast based upon something that you or I say during the podcast. And I do this for all the other podcasts we do at IdahoSports.com as well. If you want to see the full variety of what we offer, we have a podcast for each region in the state of Idaho. You can go to our website, IdahoSports.com. Across the top of the homepage, there is a Prepcasts tab. You hover over that. There's a drop-down menu. It shows you all of the Prepcasts. But I only bring this up, Ryan, to say that by far the most enjoyable are the ones that I come up with from this podcast, because you always have these one-liners and these witty sayings. A rising tide lifts all boats. I mean, you have your
body built by beef.
Yeah, you're a quote machine, Ryan.
I'm glad I can make your job easier. That's what I'm here for, right?
Yeah, you were one of the easier ones, that's for sure. Okay, so girls basketball, obviously, there were some big matchups last week and possible rematches coming at districts, but let's go ahead and give you the North Idaho 9. This is what we do every week. It's Ryan's personal power rankings of the 9 best teams up north in both boys and girls basketball, regardless of classification. And it's kind of his opinion on where he sees things. So here are the North Idaho 9 for girls basketball for this week. If you're watching the video, we've got it across the bottom so you can see it. If you're listening audio only, we'll go through the list 1 all the way down to 9 and cover them all. So Ryan, take it away.
I'll also have it on my Twitter page after we're done too, so I'll make sure and post it so people can grill me.
Yes, and give us that Twitter handle again.
It is at @NIdaho Game Night, and that's on Twitter. So you can follow me there, and I'll have it posted there after we're done. But
yeah.
So number 1, should be no surprise. Coeur d'Alene, they're just good. I thought we knew that they were going to be pretty decent coming into the season. and they have been all gas, no brakes down the stretch. And the Vikings are kind of running away with this one. And Post Falls plays them tough, but I mean they beat the brakes off the Trojans the other night, and so there's a little bit of a mix up now in the top 5. You're seeing Post Falls slipping. They've lost. They haven't put together too great of a run. I think they've lost 4 out of their last 5 games, have the Trojans. So they've dropped out of the top 5 for sure. They're still a good program. I mean, they play Lake City just absolutely rock solid last night, but Lake City ended up pulling away late. So I've got the T-Wolves at number 2. The Bulldogs, all they do is win. I mean, they're just running down the stretch now. And they're cleaning things up. I mean, they had a couple slip-ups early on in the season, but since then, they've been able to play really, really clean basketball against some great programs and getting another win against Kendrick, another one, down the stretch. So there's been some good games by the Bulldogs. And then Timberlake at 4, Kellogg at 5. Those two I think are going to flip-flop depending on what happens at district time. It's like 1A and 1B. I mean, they're both solid teams. I think they can both trophy come state time. They just play. Timberlake's got the pedigree as far as coaching. I think they have the upper hand. Kellogg, man, they are deep and they are big, and they got size too at every position. I mean, they're big in the guard position too. So the Cats are a solid team to keep an eye on. I think there's some teams statewide or pundits, media wise or coaches that are still sleeping on them. But I really do think that they can make a run and maybe a top 5, finish at state in a couple weeks. I got the Prairie Pirates at 6. They are a complete team for the 1A. I think this shows how deep this field is. If you've got Prairie that's done nothing wrong, they've got a record, 16-3, and they're at number 6 in this. So that just shows you how strong North Idaho basketball is this year. Post Falls at 7. They could sneak up and get a win. I mean, they're on the heels of the T-Wolves. They could clip them Friday. It wouldn't surprise me by any means. So they've played them tough. They even played Coeur d'Alene tough earlier in the year. So come district time, they're not out by any means. I got Lapwai at 8. The Wildcats are doing everything right. It's just everybody else is too. So that's why they're down at 8. And then tied for 9th. I couldn't decide on these two teams, and they're, Kendrick is solid, but Wallace has been absolutely consistent down the stretch. The Miners could be punching their ticket to state very easily. I look at kind of what's happened on the back end with the number 3 and number 4 seeds in the White Pine League. I think the Miners could clip them and get their ticket to a state tournament berth. And then just on the outside is Deary. They got an 11-5 record right now, kind of very sneaky, hanging out behind Kendrick. But Kendrick's been able to take care of business, obviously, in league. But that's what I've got for my 9-10 teams.
Yeah. I always like to cherry pick a couple of things from your list that we can talk about, and then I know you wanted to hit on some stuff. Grangeville at 3. I think that's a good move. They've been very quietly going under the radar. They played both Coal Valley Christian and Melba early on in the season, and they were still kind of getting their feet under them a little bit and lost those games. But I think in a rematch, I like Grangeville. I mean, I think they compete very well in a rematch. The way they've improved and grown through the year has been very impressive. I also wanted to touch on Prairie at number 6. I mean, they got the big win over Lapwai last week or two weeks ago now.
2 weeks ago,
and Lapwai had been kind of the number 1 team, not just in the district, but really in the state in terms of like the polls and coaches, media. So my question to you is, if Lapwai was kind of seen by everybody as the 1A D1 favorite in girls basketball, does Prairie now assume that mantle?
I think that they could easily play each other in the championship. I mean, I'm going to hang it out on a limb. They got to get on the opposite sides of the bracket, obviously.
Right.
So I don't know exactly how it's going to get seeded up, but because I don't know, does Max Preps come into play in the 1A D1? I can't remember.
Yes, I believe all of them will get seeded, and that's the problem. Is Butte County is still undefeated, so they'll probably get the 1 seed. So you're probably looking at those 2 in the semi.
So Lapwai could realistically get a 3 seed, or they could be 2-3 and end up on the same side and play each other in the semis very easily. So honestly, it would behoove one of the teams to if Prairie beats Lapwai again in the district championship, Lapwai could end up at a 4 and on the seed line, and actually that would in my mind benefit both teams because they wouldn't have been playing each other again in the semis of state. But stranger things happen, obviously, and how rankings shake up, and one loss can really kind of throw a wrench in things. But both those teams are rock solid. Prairie, actually, in my opinion, I think was a little sneaky with how good they've been. I knew that they were going to be solid. I didn't know they were going to be this good. And they're just a well-coached unit. They play so consistent. They don't turn the ball over. They just take care of things, and they play really, really good on the offensive end. And Kristen Wemhoff is an absolute freak out there on the court. So, if you look at notoriety and name stuff, for teams, Prairie, that's the name to watch as we head into state. That Kristen Wemhoff is going to be the player to watch, I think, in the 1AD1 tournament.
Yes, and last year they had Madison Shears, and you thought, oh man, how are they going to replace that? But they're doing just fine. Yeah. So let's talk about these 5As: Coeur d'Alene, Lake City, Post Falls. You've got Post Falls 7th in your rankings, and it's not because they're not good. It's just that they've gotten beaten up a little bit by Coeur d'Alene and Lake City. I'm convinced if they're in any other conference, Post Falls is like the second best. They're the second best team if they play in District 3, and they're probably the second best team, maybe even challenging for the league if they're in District 5-6.
Yep, absolutely. Would not disagree with that at all. So it's no fault. Like I said, it's no fault of the Trojans. It's just the schedule up north is just tough. And if you want to look at like kind of top tier wins, Post Falls has a head-to-head over Lapwai too in that Avista tournament. So, I mean, you look at, I know that it's a 5A beating a 1A D1 team, but in rankings wise, that was the number one team in 1A D1 at the time when Post Falls knocked them off. So, like the Trojans are a solid ball club. Americus Crane is a really great player. Capri Sims is another just, stud athlete out there. They've gotten some really great guard play. Post Falls, like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if they sneak out and finally beat Lake City this Friday. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. And that's just how deep the 5A is up north. Lake City quietly is sitting there in 2, and, they've got a great lineup of themselves in their own right. So I'm not, faulting any of these teams. It's just the way things kind of work out this year.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, Ryan. The district tournament gets started on Friday night for these girls. Coeur d'Alene is the 1 seed. They'll play 4th seeded Lewiston. Lake City, the 2 seed. They'll play 3rd seeded Post Falls. And again, we think Coeur d'Alene probably advances.
Yep.
It would take something really weird for them to not, but it is. It's all on this Lake City Post Falls team and or this game, because a win gets you so much in a better position in terms of trying to get that second bid to state. Only 1.5 teams get to go. The district champ, and then second place has to win a play-in game, which whoever it is will win that game easily. So, I mean, this game, Post Falls, Lake City, this is the game, right? This is what it's all on.
Yeah.
So what's your analysis there? How do you Lake City swept the regular season series, but kind of close.
Yeah, I mean, I think both games were, single digit games, but it's going to take, I think, Post Falls kind of overcoming the hump of they need to light it up on the offensive end. We know they can play defense and play defense really well, but they're going to need a 50-point night out of their lineup in order to get a win. 42, 43, 44 isn't going to cut it in this game, just because of the way that Lake City can score. And who they've got. Waddington is very underrated as a player for Lake City. And I've been kind of reading some of the message boards on Twitter and following kind of recruiting trails and stuff like that. And, when you've got a 6'2" wing player that can flat shoot the ball like she can and play inside too, and then go along with Zufelt at guard. I mean, that Lake City team is really good. We know what the Pickfords can do too. So that lineup is very good for the T-Wolves. I look at it and it's just, Post Falls is going to take kind of a Herculean effort, I think, but they're the roster that could probably do it just because they play such good defense.
Yeah. And they just played on Tuesday night, and Lake City won 48-44. So like you said, for Post Falls, I think 50 is the magic number. to get a win there. But that's going to be so exciting. It's going to be, district tournament time has arrived. So districts for a lot of the other districts up north will start either this weekend or next week. Some of those 3-team leagues and stuff like that, they'll start the following week. But again, if we look at this big board, you've got Coeur d'Alene 1, Lake City 2, Grangeville 3, Timberlake 4, Kellogg 5, Prairie 6, Post Falls 7, Lapwai 8, Kendrick and Wallace each tied for 9th. I think of the 10 teams you've got here, legitimately, there's like 6 teams that legitimately could bring home a state championship.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everybody else that's here, I think, could at least bring home a trophy of some kind. Maybe not the state title, but I mean, between Coeur d'Alene, Lake City, Grangeville, Timberlake, Prairie, Lapwai, and Kendrick. I mean, 7 out of your 10, I really do think could bring home a title.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's just like we've been harping on all year, though, the depth of up north. And, it's whoever comes out, it's like survival of the fittest, basically. But it's like, why is the North that much better than the rest of the state? And I think I'm going to get grilled a little bit by some of the Southern teams that are going to hear this and maybe use it as locker room fodder. I don't know. But, that's how we're doing it up here right now. I mean, we've got athletes, we've got great kids, and, it speaks volumes of the scheduling, I think, too, and being able to, we've seen the absence of having some of the Washington schools on the schedule the last couple of years with the COVID stuff going on. So now you're seeing it this year. You got the Washington schools back on the schedule, and it's helped a little bit in some of the preseason stuff. But these teams, and I think I look at the northern schools going down and traveling down south a lot, especially during Christmas break, is helping overall. You get to see how good these teams are actually going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be super exciting. Speaking of Washington, I saw that kid from Central Valley. How many points did
58? He threw down 58 last night.
Dude, that's nuts. And then
8-minute quarters. I mean, come on.
And then in Montana, my home state, there was a kid from one of the schools that's on a Native American reservation, and he scored like 76 points. He set the new state record for most points in a game. It's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, you're playing it was, granted, Central Valley and Spokane's a 4A school, and North Central's a 3A or 2A now, I think. But still, I mean, you're playing large school basketball with 8-minute quarters, and you're able to do that. That's saying something. That kid's for real too, because he actually put up 50 the other night too.
Yeah, that's insane. So
back-to-back games, he scored over 52.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll talk more about Washington teams in a moment, because you got to see a Washington team last Saturday play against Lake City. Before we get to boys basketball, though, get us up to speed on what went on in wrestling. The big premier event happened this past weekend in North Idaho wrestling.
Yeah, I'd say like the second biggest tournament in North Idaho, because obviously you've got, what happened earlier in the year at NIC when Coeur d'Alene won their first tournament for Tri-State. But we had the North Idaho Rumble that happened this weekend. Coeur d'Alene beat Post Falls, and got them by, I think it was like 31 points was the team point difference. But yeah, the Vikings got titles out of Porter Craig, Gunnar Julio, Rylan Rogers, and Bo Spielman. Also, Alyssa Randall's on the girls' side got another title too. Just to kind of throw out the local names so the kids get the shout outs. Wyatt High from Kellogg got a title at 113. Bonners Ferry had Eli Richards that got the title at 182. And Post Falls had Ryder Seguin at 98 pounds that got a title. Post Falls was able to medal quite a few guys. Coeur d'Alene just got the championships, and that was kind of they got a lot of first and second placers. And it was the first time Coeur d'Alene's won that tournament. And I think it was the first time Post Falls hasn't won that tournament in like 10 years. So a big win for the Vikings. I think that's going to vault them up the rankings and finally jump Post Falls this week. In the next cycle comes around for the coaches' rankings for wrestling in 5A. But down the stretch, the Vikings are looking really, really good. And Post Falls is getting a lot better too. So, and there were some good teams there. I mean, you had Caldwell that was there. Buell came up. Lewison's got a few kids that are sneaky good. So there's some good teams that were present, but Coeur d'Alene just walked away with that one.
Yeah, I think they're going to come into state maybe a little under-heralded. Like we said, some of their wrestlers have been in and out of the lineup with injury. The competition circuit is always a little bit different. So in terms of seeding, that's a factor that they have to consider. And I think it's going to be Meridian, Post Falls, Coeur d'Alene. I think those are the three. They're all going to be fighting each other.
Kuna can throw their name in the hat there too.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
The one thing about it though, for those two teams, Kuna and Meridian, coming out of the SIC, out of District 3, is they're just going to get a few more numbers. Like they just get more seeding bursts, where Coeur d'Alene's guaranteed, the champion from districts. Usually the runner-up gets into on the at-large, but you might get lucky and get a third-place kid that might get an at-large bid if the 1 and 2 are head and shoulders above everybody else. But they're not going to be taking necessarily 2 per weight class like you'll see from Meridian and Kuna. Like, so Coeur d'Alene's going to have to get top 4 finishes in order to really have a shot at their state championship. They're going to have to get top 4 finishes from their lineup that's going to be headed to state. So if the Vikings can, if any team can do it though, Coeur d'Alene's battle tested coming into it. I think that they're going to be able to make a run. It's just, can they keep, when they get the head-to-head matches against Meridian, same with Post Falls, can they swing the tide and take away those team points from the back end?
Yeah, there is a lot of pressure because it is a 4-team district, less numbers overall in terms of getting guys to state. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. All right, let's wrap up with boys basketball. Again, your North Idaho 9, the 9 best. And I think this is a true 9. There's no extra 10th team in there.
Nope.
There's no,
I have a tie at 3, but yeah, there's true 9 teams. So,
true 9. So your North Idaho 9 for boys basketball this week. Really hasn't changed much at the top. Your top 2 still Lapwai 1, Lake City 2.
Yeah. And I was talking to Sam Buffington, one of our friends that follows us very devoutly up here, and so shout out to him for helping me actually at Lake City. He helped me set up on Saturday, which was awesome of him. But I was talking to him about Lapwai and Lake City. And it's like, if you go into 5-on-5, the top 5, starting 5 for each team, that would be probably the best matchup in the state of Idaho. Lapwai taking on Lake City would be an amazing basketball game. You throw the benches in, I think Lake City starts to get the edge just because they do have some great players coming off their bench that are, one thing about Lake City too is they're so stinking young. They have 1 senior in their lineup. And so it's like, are they peaking a year early? I don't know, but the T-Wolves are just dang good, but so are the Wildcats. So that's who I've got 1-2. It's like 1A, 1B. I'm kind of like doing Lake City at 2 because I'd like to see them put teams away like early. I think they're letting teams kind of hang around, and that's what I saw against Meade and I saw against Coeur d'Alene from the Timberwolves, is they are letting teams hang around a lot more. Lapwai is blowing the doors off them. It was a 1 point. They won again by like 50 against Clearwater Valley last night, but it was 19-18 at the end of the first quarter. And then at halftime, I want to say it was like 46-21. And then they put up another 30 in the third quarter and then put up another 30. And I think they scored over 90 again last night in their win for the Wildcats. So Lapwai is just running roughshod over teams. I got St. Mary's and Coeur d'Alene tied at 3rd. I really can't pick right now who's playing better basketball. Coeur d'Alene's kind of on an upward swing again. But St. Mary's is being consistent, man. They've been in that all year. And Tristan Gentry's been playing great for the Lumberjacks. I see them as a top 3 team in the 2A. So I've got them kind of in the middle. Moscow's been my sneaky team at 5. And I said, I stated it, and I said, watch out for the Bears. And I know that I said it probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. They're going to go on a run. They've been on a run. And I was looking at their losses this year. All of their losses this year have came to a team that have been ranked either in the state of Washington or in the state of Idaho. They have not lost to a team that has been unranked and ranked at some point. So it's not the Bears' fault. Their schedule has been probably the most difficult of any 4A team in the state. When you're playing the likes of Coeur d'Alene and Lake City and Lewiston, you have to play 2 games against each team. You throw in Pullman and Clarkston from the Washington side, who are both great teams. Clarkston, blew the doors off of Lewiston in the Golden Throne game on Friday. So the Bears are sitting at 5, Lewiston's at 6, Kamei 7, Prairie 8, Logos 9, and I got Lakeside just on the outside. And we got some huge games that are going to throw a wrench into some of our rankings up this next week too. So you've got Lakeside playing at Logos, Kamei playing at Prairie, and Logos at Kamei. So a lot can happen just in the next 5 days. So some big basketball coming up for these teams. And we'll know how good Lakeside is when they play that Logos game. I think we're going to finally know and see, because in the last 2 games, Lakeside put up 108 on Kootenai and then 94, I think, the other night in their win against North Idaho Christian.
Yeah, the competition there is not, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't know what to make of Lakeside, because the hard part with Lakeside is they played sort of a light schedule in December. Then they went on a huge COVID pause. They went like 17 days.
They didn't even practice. Yeah, they practiced the day before the Genesis prep game. And they were tied at halftime and then finally snuck away the win. But Vander Brown, I think, had like 28 points in that game. But yeah, they hadn't practiced as a team in 17 days that led up to that game. So
that's, it's nuts.
I mean, but Lakeside, to their defense too, they did schedule, like, the first 2 weeks, they scheduled heavy on the 3A teams, and they split. So they got wins, against Timberlake and Kellogg in there, but it's like you look at the back end of that, and they missed some really key games that would have been pretty telling for them. But it'll be interesting to see how things kind of shake out for the Knights. We know offensively they can score because they did it early in the year, but they've got Genesis prep coming up Friday, and then they've got Logos coming up. I think it's Monday that game is. So we'll see how things kind of work out for the Knights and see if they can get a run again. I think they placed last year at state, and we can see if they can do it again.
Yeah, the 1As up north had a lot of games moved around because of illness, but also weather. And so we're getting a really backloaded, like Troy last week. I think they played
4 out of 5 nights. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just nuts, but hey, at least they're getting the games in. Other leagues are just saying, yeah, we canceled it, whatever. We're not going to be too worried about making it up. So Lakeside exciting for sure.
We're a hardy bunch up here.
Yeah, for sure. I did read a really nice article in the Coeur d'Alene Press earlier this year. It was probably about a month ago, about Lakeside and how their coach James Two Teeth had a lot of success, right? They've been a state placer the last several years. Lost this legendary class to graduation, right? Kenyon Spotted Horse and
Day Higgins, and that was a good group of kids. Jason Hall.
Yes, yeah, JJ Hall. And so he was kind of ready to kind of, retire with this good group of players, and the other kids that were coming back were like, hey, we need you.
We're not done yet.
We want to run it back. Like we need you. And so he decided to come back, and I think you can see the passion has been reignited there, and it's been really fun to see. So,
and I think that the stability there in the coaching staff, because he is a great coach, and I don't know if you've ever talked to him, but he's a really, really good guy too. And got a chance to talk to him at state last year, and I don't know if it would be the same result with this COVID break if it was a different coach. I don't know if, I think that the team might have unraveled a little bit with that big of a break, but everybody in the lineup basically got COVID at the same time, and some of them had it a little bit longer than others. And so they just had to literally shut everything down because they didn't have any kids that could practice because they were all sick. And so it's like you had to wait for them to all recover. And so now that they've been able to work through this, I mean, we'll see when they get their legs under them. Maybe, they get on a bit of a roll. It would be nice to see because, Vander Brown we had as a first team all tournament team last year, and he's back and he's still scoring at will, and he can distribute too. So it'll be interesting to see how teams shut them down the stretch.
Yeah, for sure. On the girls' side, 7 of your 10 teams I thought could legitimately win a title. Here for the boys list, I see four teams that in my mind I think could realistically bring home a first place trophy. Lapwai, Lake City, St. Mary's, and maybe that's it. Maybe it's just
I got 3.
Yeah, that's it. Your top 3.
I don't see any of the 1As beating Lapwai. So Yeah, and then you look at 1AD2, and nobody wants to win that conference, so it's like
Wide open.
yeah, it's wide open. So come district time, it's going to be interesting to see how things kind of shake up. So
Even the league, even the White Pine League has been all over the place, right?
Clark Fork, look
Yes.
out for the Wampus Cats. They're at what, 11-6 right now?
Yeah.
They're done waiting for districts, and they could make it to state. I mean, that's awesome. Good for them.
Carter San Roman's been playing really well for
Yep.
the Wampus Cats. And because the champion of District 1 will have to play the third place team from District 2.
That's a winnable game.
Yes, I agree. And in fact, Mullen's coach scheduled a late season game. I think it's actually coming up next week at Timberline in Weippe. And he said flat out, we put this game on the schedule because if we win our district, we have to beat the third place team, and playing Timberline from the other district is going to give us an idea of if we can achieve that goal. Yeah. So that's going to be a good measuring stick.
It'll be interesting to see next week's episode, see where everybody's at, because we're kind of like knuckle dragging and ready to throw gloves. I think, everybody's kind of going, let's just go to a bare knuckle boxing contest now. If we can't figure it out, we're going to do the 3-legged sack race.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, when we come back next week on the North Idaho Prepcast, we'll have district action to break down on the girls' side. Kind of the final week and a half of boys regular season basketball up north. Wrestling. What's the timeline for wrestling? When is state wrestling? I haven't even looked.
It's the weekend between girls and boys basketball.
Okay.
So, yeah. So you'll have girls, I think, are the 16, 17, 18, or 18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
And then wrestling will be 25, 26. And then boys basketball for state will be March 4th and 5th, or 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So
cool. And districts, they run that a week before state? Or do
they districts, I think it's 2 weeks before state this year, if I'm not mistaken. But they might have changed it just due to like giving people rest after the COVID stuff. So it might, districts, I think, don't quote me. It's either going to be the 11th and 12th or 18th and 19th. Yeah. So
this is stuff I should know, but
I should have been looking, but I thought that they changed it this year and may have pushed it back a week, but I could be wrong. So
I got a lot on my plate these days. We will have a definitive answer for you next week.
I'll make a couple calls.
Yeah, would you please? Yeah. All right. That'll do it for this edition of the North Idaho Prepcast. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Enjoy the competition this weekend. Enjoy districts.
Signing day today, too. So congrats to all the guys signing up, because I saw Cameron Copes finally got the official name out there and everything, too. So there's some big name signings that have going on. Jace Hill from Lewiston signed with College of Idaho for football. So congrats to all the kids out there that have earned it.
Yes, and there's way too many to list. For sure, because there's so many good athletes up north.
Yep.
But yes, the official signing day. Back in the day, this was the only signing day.
Yeah. Now you have early and all that.
Yeah, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, happy signing day, and
proceed. Sorry.
No, you're totally fine. That is like the furthest thing on my mind today, because we're smack dab in the middle of all these winter sports, but at the same time, yes, it is signing day for sure.
Yep.
So happy signing day. Happy Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in to the North Idaho Prepcast, and we'll see you next time. For Ryan Scaggs, I'm Brandon Baney. Thanks for tuning in on IdahoSports.com.